George Carl, a name I recognise from the Dutch show Clearwater, Florida. You made a good point that you, the Shane Douglas character, is different from Troy Martin, the person. In the 1990s, I ran into Randy Savage many times. He lived near to where I worked and was always the gravel voice Macho Man. I've heard that he actually did morph into the Macho Man 24/7, and I can believe it. Do you know any others that actually lived their life as their character? Thanks.
Yeah, Sonny, Ric Flair for sure. Those two come to mind because I've mentioned them before. I think Chris Benoit, I think towards the end was beginning to, and I don't know if that's attributable to the CTE, but I wasn't around him a ton like I had been before. Based on things that I've heard and the stories that I've heard of things going on, it seemed from left field to me. I'd never seen Chris exhibit those types of things when I was around him. And I think that becomes a dangerous thing, where if I was playing Prince Charming, if I was playing Hannibal Lecter, if you start taking on those traits and start imbuing that, I think there's a tendency in our business to think, okay, well, I've been more successful as this character than I've been in any of those other characters. And there's also a part of us, I think, that wants to conceal away the real us underneath. Like, I don't want people looking at Troy Martin. If you live next door to me, going, hey, stay away from him. He throws people down with broken necks. And conflating those two and mixing them up. And so I've always made the conscious decision and effort to not portray that character overtly, when I'm around, and I don't want to be that guy. The way I've always played in my head, this guy is a vicious, narcissistic, big-headed jackass of a human being. But I played him that way. He's supposed to piss the audience off. He's the antagonist. And I think for those of us that do separate them off, when you meet the people, like I mentioned Roddy a few questions ago, for the fans, if you met him and you were expecting Rowdy Roddy Piper, you aren't going to get that guy. That's not the guy that's going to show up and talk to you. You'll probably have an incredible conversation with him and enjoy the hell out of it, but it ain't going to be that guy. And, I'd heard that about Mach, Randy. I, of course, knew him, but knew him as somebody at work. Never really sort of like crossed the paths or traveled with him or anything. I did get to know him a lot better after he died, in the sense that, like, listening to Lanny talk about him as a big brother and Rip Morgan also. And you hear in those stories like a real love and a real, affection to this guy, respect. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a handful. I think Ric Flair has forgotten who Richard Flair is. And I don't know why. It seems strange to me, because Richard Flair ultimately is the guy that created that character. And so, like, I would seem to think like you'd want to pay the homage, and full respect for Rick. Maybe when he's around his family, maybe he's really got that guard up high. I don't know. It just seems like when you're Ric Flair, when you're the Nature Boy, anytime you're out in public, cameras are on you. Everybody's gonna be talking to him, paying attention. If you're in the restaurant, everybody's like, eating their dinner and like keeping their eye on him, watching them. I think I can melt into the background a lot easier. And I appreciate that. But there are a few of those people that have done that, that sort of throw that up. Like I said, to conceal like the real selves. There's a real person behind that character, and the person that plays those, like Sonny, Tammy. I haven't seen the Tammy that I remember meeting way back in ECW. I haven't seen that girl because we would often talk about things. She had said to me one time that she was also accepted to medical school. So I want to quiz her, because if you were accepted to medical school, you would certainly know what this is or that is, or Krebs cycle is. Those little inside things that the average person walking down the street wouldn't. And she did. She knew all of them. So we would have long, deep conversations, not just about wrestling, about current events, about, the world, about whatever. And the last several times that I've seen her, I think the last time I saw her in person was at WrestleCade 2 years ago. And, you know, same belief, smile, all the hello, hug, all that was there. But like in talking to her, I was talking to Sonny. It wasn't Tammy Lynn Sitch. And, I think the moral of that story is like read into that, look at it and see like what the outcome of that is. And I'm more than content to keep that guy on the shelf, except when I need him. And quite comfortable with that. So yeah, it does happen, and it can happen. And I think and probably not just in our business. I'm sure there's probably people that have played large roles in movies or stage plays or whatever that sort of like I've heard, like read about different actors that say their character smokes in the movie or smokes in the and then suddenly that actor is smoking, picking up that habit. Fine line. Got to keep those two separate.